short weeks away, and Run Pure Sports is gearing up for the season with the best deal in DFS.
For a limited time only, we are offering new members a 15% discount for the life of their subscription, including SaberSim subs. Simply use the promo code NFL15 when subscribing to take advantage of this great deal before our prices go up.
And at RPS, we don't just give you access to one sport. When you subscribe to our premium service, we give you access to all of our content, including NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and so much more.
And we're not going to charge extra for access to our preseason content either. Our memberships include all of our content, including the NFL preseason. The best DFS players in the industry give you access to their core plays and slate strategies for every sport and for every slate. Simplify your lineup building process by plugging in picks directly from the top players in the world. Watch our premium live streams to gain a huge edge on the competition. Our guys are live up to lock for the biggest slates, walking you through their last-minute decisions, analyzing breaking news and injury alerts for the major sports.
Again, for a limited time only, you can access our industry-leading DFS content for 15% off our already low price. SaberSim packages are included, so sign up today using the promo code NFL15 for 15% off your subscription for life and start building winning lineups today.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the UFC MMA Run Pure Sports Show, breaking down UFC 279, a chaotic card. We've never really seen anything like this. All three main fights got switched around after the Wade missing, and there's conspiracy theories and just absolute chaos for this card. But we're here to break it down, here with Title, here with Keg. Before we get started, I do got to give a shout out to our man, Big T, shipping the Fantasy Baseball Championship and FanDuel Live Final. Just finished I think he's on the college football show early, up and grinding as Big T does. So huge congratulations to Big T winning that 500K. We had a lot of other winners in baseball too, but of course, had to shout out Big T, and we've got NFL tomorrow too. So if you want to sign up for us, I think it's going to be an awesome year, an awesome start. NFL 15 will get you 15% off your lifetime of your subscription, so long as you stay with us. So there we go. There's the promo, and let's get into the fights. Title, we'll go to you first. I think we got to jump. We're going to do all fights. We're going to go through them all, but I think we got to jump right to the top of the card at first and talk about just the situation that went on. Do you think this is a genuine, unplanned thing? Or I kind of think I'm buying into the conspiracy theories. I think Dana White knew this was going to happen. So your thoughts on what went down with all these fighters, the rearranging of the card, and just give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, before that, got to give a big shout out to Big T. I mean, he's been grinding for so long. His goal was to always ship one of these. And I don't think people even understand how hard it is. I mean, how much money you have to even dump and spend, even qualify for a live final, and you're still not even guaranteed that. And then to go on it and ship it, and he shipped it by a good amount. 15? Obviously, baseball. I know he was on the college football show before. 15 is only a home run, which what was the swing, like 250,000 or something, if that would have happened. So you have to run so pure. Such a great team. Awesome stuff, Big T. Like you said, I looked in the MMA streets. Big T was already in the MMA streets. I see the playbook right now. Big T's got the playbook open. Nobody grinds harder. So awesome stuff, Big T. A lot of other members, big nights as well. And man, yeah, talking back on the UFC. Is it conspiracy? Is it not? A lot of people have asked me and stuff. I'm not going to waste my time guessing which way it is. I definitely will never call anyone a conspiracy theorist for saying that it is, because, man, everything just lined up so perfectly. Yeah. And I mean, this was not an awful pay-per-view, but one of the worst pay-per-view cards that we've had. Now, and we were talking a little pre-show, my excitement 2 days ago was, I was excited. I love MMA Saturdays, but it was all NFL. I mean, we have NFL tomorrow. That's all my thought. Now, I can't even think about the NFL right now because I'm so excited for these fights. I mean, these three fights that we got now, I'm more excited for all three of them, I think. I mean, the Ferguson Diaz, this was the fight that should have happened at first. No one wanted to see Diaz get killed by Chimaev. I mean, listen to what Diaz was saying in the media all week too. Like, it just was not fun. Like, it did not sound good. And then you go to the Holland D-Rod fight, would have been fun for sure. But the Leach D-Rod, that's going to be a great fight. 180 against a 170 pounder. Don't see that every day. I still expect a great scrap there. And then, yeah, Chimaev and Kevin Holland. I mean, the narrative going on, the backstage stuff, how convenient for everyone. Like I said, I definitely will not call anyone crazy. But I think it's going to be a better fight than people think, man. Kevin Holland is game. Props to him and Leach. Those are the two guys. Of course, money talks. I assume they got a big pay jump on this one. But Kevin Holland went from a good size favorite to one of the biggest dogs and one of the toughest fights. And then the Leach went from a big size favorite against a big name, Tony Ferguson, could elite the stuff there. And now as an underdog against a guy 10 pounds heavier. So those are the two that made the sacrifices. Of course, money talks, but you could probably hear it in my voice, man. I am so pumped for this card now, this main event. And then we haven't even talked about DraftKings yet. They did not change the pricing. It's a game theory card, man. I am so excited for this one. It's going to be a good one. But yeah, I'm not going to answer whether it's conspiracy or whether I think it was or not. It all planned out. It all worked out so well, though. So yeah, I kind of lean that side.
We don't need you to answer. I'll tell the people. This was a planned event. The way
Paulo Costa called it a couple of days ago too, which is the funniest thing.
Yeah. Certainly wasn't the first on it, but after it all went down, just like I DM'd you about Chimaev, like what a gift for Chimaev it kind of was to be able to fight Nate Diaz, right? The plan was to elevate Chimaev on the pay-per-view, give him a win over a very popular fighter. Which I'm just glad that fight's not happening. Like, Diaz was just going to get an absolute beatdown in that fight. Now we've got way more competitive fights. That fight should have never been booked in the first place, Chimaev and Diaz. So very happy for the changes. I think it makes the card way better. Like you said, way more competitive fights. Excited, very excited for NFL, but yeah, very excited for this card as well. It's going to be a fun day of watching sports leading into Sunday. So just an awesome weekend ahead of us. We're excited. Keg, what's going on, man? Your thoughts on all the changes and how you're doing in general?
What's up, buddy? Yeah, doing well. Excited for football. Tony's a beast. I mean, he's just an absolute machine, what he does. So congrats to him. And as far as the card, I think from an entertainment value, the card's gotten way better.
Yeah.
I wish I had that bet in that Chimaev Diaz fight, though, that we're not going to get back. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, we finally got props up this morning from both books. So looking forward to talking about the card.
Let's get into it. Yeah, we're going to try to keep this moving. We got tons of shows on the channel all day long. So maybe some of these earlier fights, not that we're going to gloss over them, but yeah, we'll keep this show moving. First fight on the card, Darian Weeks and Yohan Lainesse. It is Weeks, who is a small favorite, sitting around -125. Keg, let's go right back to you for this one. What do you see from a betting perspective between these two?
Yeah, Darian Weeks comes in, and he's still looking to break his maiden on the UFC level. He's yet to do it. Lost to Barbarena, lost to Gary, and he isn't a great fighter, but I think he's serviceable in what he does. He's got decent wrestling chops, nice left hook, fights behind a solid jab. He pressures his opponents well, or at least he tries to. For Yohan Lainesse, absolutely huge for the weight class, which helps him a ton. He carries big power for the division, and he incorporates his kicking game well to set up his hands. So he starts fast, but he tends to fade. And if he can't get the job done, a perfect example of this was that last fight against Gabe Green. He had Green hurt badly, wasn't able to turn the lights off. Green got his composure back, ends up grinding a solid win out because Lainesse didn't have the gas down the stretch. So pretty even fight to me. I think it's represented in the odds. Lainesse opened a -150 favorite. Now, last time I checked, he was around +105. So money's coming in on Weeks, and I get it. It feels like a coin flip to me, but I'll take the size advantage and the power advantage with Lainesse. If I was going to bet it, it would be inside the distance in that +195 range. Aside from that, don't see much.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't have a ton to add to this one. Title doesn't look like the best fight for DFS for me. Probably one that I won't have a ton of exposure to. But what do you see here between Weeks and Lainesse?
Yeah, I like this fight for DFS actually.
Yeah.
I mean, so with the salary now, it changes the whole slate. The three fighters or the three fights getting mixed and matched. I mean, now we have the main event 7,200, 6,600, which we have. Go ahead.
The prices didn't change for the fighters, right?
FanDuel they did, DraftKings they did not. Okay. Correct. So we have D-Rod 7,500 is the favorite. The main is 5 rounds, which allows you to get Chimaev at 9,600, Almeida 95. It allows you to get anybody. Which what that will do is have fights like this one that are going to go way lower owned than they were going to do previously because you don't need the mid tier as much. This fight's still minus 205 to end inside the distance. And I agree. Everything that Keg said, I totally agree. I don't have too much to add. Why I like this fight so much is because Yohan Lainesse, grown ass man, monster for the division, hits like a truck. He can put anyone out with one shot. Darian Weeks has never been knocked out. But like Keg said, like when I look at him, there's not one thing that just stands out to me like this guy's really good at this. He's just a solid fighter everywhere, it seems. I don't think this fight really hits the mat. But why I like this fight so much in DFS, I think it's Lainesse knocked him out in the first half of the fight. Or I think he slows down like he always does. His cardio is definitely a problem. He is so big. The weight cut stuff. He throws so much into his shots. He doesn't have 3-round cardio. So 1.5 rounds through this fight, if Weeks is still in it, Weeks is going to take over, and I think he'll find the finish. So 8,200, 8,000 on a fight now. I mean, I like this fight way before the ownership was going to be there. Like it even more now that it's going to be lower owned. I'm going to go Lainesse. I don't love taking the guy that doesn't have the cardio. Perfect live betting spot. After round 1, if Weeks is still there, it doesn't look like he's going to go away. Jump on Weeks, and I think you get a pretty good price tag, probably dog money that way. I love Lainesse's power. I'm going to say he clips Weeks in the first round. But I love this fight for DFS. So give me Lainesse. I'll have a lot of him. But again, if you can't get him out of there in a round and a half, Weeks is going to take over, volume advantage, all of that. He can put up a big score for his price tag too. So I like this fight. But yeah, I'll go with Lainesse. Same thoughts as Keg.
Perfect. Let's move to the next fight, women's division. Elise Reed and Melissa Martinez. It is Martinez, a decent favorite, sitting around minus 170 over Elise Reed. Title, we'll stick with you. Break down this one for us from a DFS perspective. And who do you think takes this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to take the dog shot on Elise Reed just because it was women's MMA, $7,700. We didn't have a ton of value. Like, I'm not paying $8,500 for a girl that I think, not just a girl, any fight really that I think is going to go to decision. But now that we have all this value, I think this fight stays on the feet and goes to decision. Like, I don't need that 7,700 80-point win anymore with all this value down there. So I don't like this fight in DFS. It's dog or pass for me if I'm talking money line though.
Yeah, I think this will be maybe the lowest owned fight on the card.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, combined ownership, I think it definitely will.
Yeah, that's Melissa Martinez, Elise Reed, not the most appealing fight from a DFS perspective. Keg, rather, do you have a lean betting wise on these two?
Mute.
Keg, you only made a one fight match. Usually, I think last week you got through the entire show, but
I'm surprised he didn't catch himself. I was waiting for him to catch it. He kept going.
So, yeah, I agree with everything Title said. I'll be quick. The odds open Martinez minus 250. Elise Reed has taken money, as she should, because that line was crazy. I agree. At these odds, it's probably dog or pass, and we're on the split prop here, plus 380. If I was going to get involved on Martinez, it would be the decision prop at plus 135. Which would probably be the way that I would bet the fight if I was going to bet a side. But I'm just going to take the split prop plus 380 and move on.
By the way, Keg, I like you too much to not interrupt you, but we did have a show. It was me, JT, and Holden had himself muted, and JT and I just let him talk. He went for like a whole minute. And eventually he found out, because JT and I were like looking at each other on camera, and eventually we just broke out in laughter. But we just let him go as long as he could. So I wouldn't do that to you, but Holden, definitely happy to let him hang himself a little bit.
And you know what? Completely understandable.
There you go. We move on quickly to the next fight on the card. It is Haley Alateng, who is again, moderate favorite, about the same as Melissa Martinez, sitting around minus 170 or so over Chad Anheliger. Keg, let's stick with you for this one betting wise. What do you see?
I haven't been very impressed with anything really that I've seen from Chad Anheliger the last couple of years. I think his cardio hasn't looked good, even on the regional scene. The level of competition suspect, and I'm not sure that he even belongs on a UFC roster. When Jesse Strader throws you around the cage for 10 minutes, that's a rough look. So for me, this fight is really, I think, one guy that should be on the roster against one guy that shouldn't, and that's it. So the odds open offshore, Alateng minus 255, currently about minus 165. I don't mind the money line price at minus 165, to be honest. Now, I'm probably not going to lay it, but I think he's going to win. So I don't mind it. If you're not looking to lay the chalk, then I would be looking at Alateng in round 3 or by decision at plus 115. That would probably be the look I would go with, but I'll probably pass on the fight.
Yeah, makes sense. Title, what do you see between these two?
I really wish, I mean, this is one of the fights where I really wish I knew what the game plan of one of the fighters is going to be, and that's Alatengheili, because he has a massive advantage. If he comes in with the wrestling game plan like he did his first 2 fights in the UFC, this should be Alateng all day and domination and a big score in DFS. However, you look at his 4 fights so far in the UFC. First fight, went 3 for 7 on takedowns. Second fight, 4 for 13 on takedowns. Next 2 fights, he was 0 for 1 and 0 for 1 on takedowns. So we had 2 completely different game plans in those fights. Chad Anheliger, I agree. I don't think he's very good, but what he does have is he has massive power in his hands as well. Power that can knock out anybody in the division. So if Alateng is going to stand with him for 15 minutes, this line's off. This would be a coin flip fight at the end of the day. But why would Alatengheili, who has a wrestling background, against Chad Anheliger, who was taken down 5 times on the Contender Series, taken down 4 times in his UFC debut, not against good wrestlers, why would he not just come in with the easy game plan and take him down and just grind him wrestling and win an easy decision that way? So that's the hard thing with MMA. You never know what fighters are going through coming in there, what their mindset is, what their game plan is and stuff. But you just got to expect he's going to come in with the right game plan. At least that's what I'm going to expect. Going to say he shoots for takedowns. I think he has success with it. When it's on the mat, it's Alateng all day. So, man, 8,400. Again, this was a fight that the ownership goes way down in this fight because of all the value that we have now. Alatengheili still has all the upside in the world at 8,400. I hope he puts on his wrestling shoes. He has the upside there. He is my pick. And Anheliger, he has a one-shot KO power. But I don't love taking fighters like that as much. So hopefully Alateng comes in with the wrestling shoes. I think he gets the job done.
And if he does go the takedown route, like title says, he's going to look like an $1,800 favorite in there, like legitimately. So yeah, I agree.
Based on the way you guys are talking, that minus 165, minus 170 seems like a little bit of a gift for a fighter who can win multiple ways. So yeah, might be touching that money line on Alateng. Let's go to the next fight on the card. One of the bigger favorites is Norma Dumont, sitting around minus 400 against Danyelle Wolf. Title, I think we might have seen some pretty decent ownership on Dumont. Maybe we still will, but of course the rearranging of the fights changes this card. What do you see between Dumont and Wolf?
No, I actually think she's the one that gets overlooked in the upper tier because it's going to be Almeida and Chimaev.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think she would have had ownership. Now I'm not sure.
I don't think she gets too much. I think she's one of the lower owned fighters up there. I mean, we're going to get the next fight. Collier. There's a lot of fighters in this the upper tier is absolutely loaded. You see a woman's fight that's expected to go to decision slightly. The thing is, I mean, this is literally just like the last fight. I'm glad they're back to back. I wish I knew what game plan Norma Dumont was going to come in with. If she comes in with a wrestling game plan, Danyelle Wolf has a background in boxing. She's 1-0 in her MMA career. Her one win was 2 years ago on the Contender Series, and I thought she lost that fight. I mean, she got outstruck 85 to 51 in that fight. Somehow won a decision. Somehow got a UFC contract. Don't know how for any of those reasons. Now, she is way bigger than Norma Dumont. If people were watching the ceremonial weigh-ins yesterday, they looked like 3 weight classes apart. However, one girl has been training MMA for a while, has fought solid UFC competition. She beat Aspen Ladd in a 5-round fight. Like, it's night and day, the MMA experience between these two. If Norma Dumont comes in with, I'll just strike with her for 15 minutes, yeah, this line is way off. If she comes in with the Alatengheili approach like he should, go for takedowns against a boxer or a boxing background, 1-0 in the US or in an MMA career, like, she should be able to get one takedown, get her into mount, and just style on her and finish her in the first round. She only averages 1.02 takedowns per 15 minutes, though. So I'm going to say she comes in with a good game plan. You have a full camp. You know the weakness there. She's going to be lower owned in the upper tier, I think. You cannot just play one of Ferguson, Diaz, D-Rod, Almeida, Chimaev. Like, you have to get different. You have to play lower owned fighters on a card like this, leaving salary. It's a game theory card more than anything. And I think she gets forgotten in the upper range with as much upside as anyone, and she comes in with the right game plan. So I'm going to try and get overweight. Come in with the right game plan. Don't box a boxer, take her down, make it an MMA fight, destroy her, and you can break the slate. So that's how I see it.
I like it. I'm always hesitant to trust the fighters to come in with the right game plan. That's the first when they do. When you bet on that or DFS wise, and they just throw it out the window. But I agree with you. Dumont seems to have a pretty easy path to victory here. Hopefully she takes advantage of it. Keg, what do you see between Dumont and Wolf?
Yeah, everything that title said is dead right. If she comes in with that game plan, she's going to finish her. And if she doesn't come in with that game plan, it's going to be greasy. So I think the split prop you have to be on at plus 425. But I'm going to also probably be on Norma Dumont inside the distance at plus 195. Because if any takedown she attempts, she's probably getting. And if it's with enough time to work, I just don't see how this fight lasts. So I'm going to take both. I'm going to take Dumont plus 195, and I'm going to take the split prop at plus 4.25.
Makes sense. That's Dumont and Wolf. We'll move on to the battle of the fatties is next. We got Jailton Collier and Chris Barnett, who missed weight. Dude, come on. Chris Barnett, you're 5'9", and you can't make 265. Like,
sad.
Eat a salad or something, man. You gotta be able to get down to 265 if you're 5'9". I'm sorry. He's a professional athlete. I'm not still. I'll throw a little shade Barnett's way. It is Collier, though, Keg, that is a big favorite in this one, minus 400 to minus 450, depending on where you look. And I'm guessing, Keg, just guessing, that you're going to be like, Collier should not be minus 450 against anybody. So I'll say it for you. Am I right?
Yeah, that's definitely.
But maybe he should be against Chris Barnett.
All right. So first of all, everybody settle down on the Chris Barnett hate. The guy just lost his wife. I mean,
now I feel bad. I didn't know that.
Sorry. I mean, can we just give the dude a pass?
Okay.
You know, I mean, listen,
my bad. That's my bad.
Huggy Bear, I got you, bro.
I mean, he's still very sad, but he still should be. He missed it by one. He should have made it.
I mean, just the fact that he got on the scale, there's something to be said for that. So listen, you can make an argument that Jay Collier's on a 4-fight win streak. When you consider that he lost 2 split decisions that could have easily gone his way against Arlovsky and Carlos Felipe.
That'll still tilting that Arlovsky loss.
I know.
Dude literally wins every split for zero reason.
Yeah. So you can make the argument that he should be riding in on a 4-fight win streak. But he's a volume striker. He sets a solid pace for a heavyweight. His defensive striking isn't awful, and he uses the kicking game well. I guess he's low level, but he is not awful. And he fights the most fun, obviously, heavyweight fighter in the promotion. Everybody knows Barnett's big liability, though, right? He's incredibly undersized for the division when you consider how short he is and how long his reach is.
Yeah, he should be fighting at like welterweight or something.
Yeah.
Well, Collier came in as a middleweight too when he started his UFC career. Yeah. I mean, both these guys.
He's a solid striker, crazy athletic for his build. And if he gets on the inside, he can cause you problems. But the odds opened Collier minus 300. Now it's minus 425 last time I checked. So I think that this fight has split decision written all over it, considering that Collier in his last 4 fights, there have been 2 split decisions. So, at 6.5 or 7-1, I think, whatever it is, I have to check, but I think that's live. Other than that, aside from, it's money line, I think it's a dog or pass on the money line. If I was going to pick somebody to win the fight, I would probably pick Collier. But if I was betting the fight, aside from the split, I'd be looking towards Barnett to maybe catch him. But I am going to grab a little piece of the split, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. Title DFS wise, I think Collier has to get the finish here to probably end up on the optimal, at least the way I see it. Curious to think if you can get that done, and maybe have a different opinion, but I don't see him scoring super well in a decision win. So your thoughts on Collier and Barnett?
He probably needs the finish with the nature of Chimaeva's -190 to finish, Almeida's something like that. But Collier throws very good volume, lands 5.67 significant strikes per minute, and he keeps that pace for 15 minutes. I think he finishes. More of a bet against Chris Barnett for sure. But I first sentenced the playbook, I was like, low-level heavyweights. And I was like, I got to give more respect to Collier than a low-level heavyweight, as Keg said earlier. Should be on a 4-fight winning streak. He's tough. I like his low kicks. The volume's there. He keeps a steady pace for 15 minutes, which not everyone can do. And I definitely don't think Chris Barnett can keep this pace for 15 minutes. I just see the volume over and over and over again, touching him up. If Collier wants to get the fight to the mat, I think he can finish it that way as well. Chris Barnett, I just don't think is a UFC fighter at the end of the day, whereas I do believe Jake Collier is, and I think the volume is going to overwhelm him, and I do think he does put away Chris Barnett at the end of the day. He's not going to be low owned by any means, Collier is. Again, with all this value, the ownership comes down a little bit since it's easier to get Almeida and Chimaev, but I think he has as much upside as anyone, since I do think he has the finish. Like a third round finish would be the nuts for this, because you get all that volume, you'd get over 100 significant strikes, you'd hopefully get a knockdown, stuff like that. I really like Collier in this spot, and I think he has as much upside as anyone. So sign me up.
Yeah, I like the Collier call, and all due respect to Chris Barnett, obviously, and condolences, but if you can't get down to 265, if you can't make the weight when you're 5'9", I just question how much was he really training, right? Because if you're training hard,
you're losing some of that weight.
Yeah, exactly. And
my thoughts too. But where's your headspace at?
Exactly. And Collier, we know, can set a good pace, right? So it just seems like Barnett, even if he's able to compete early on, it seems like he would run out of gas in the second or third round. And
first round KO or bust. If you want to hedge, I think you say Barnett first round KO, take your big plus money, because I agree everything you said.
Yeah, so that's Collier, Barnett. Let's move on to the next one, Jamie Pickett and Denis Tiuliulin. It is Pickett who is a small favorite here, sitting around -135. Title will stick with you. What do you see between these two guys?
This fight's going to definitely be overlooked, again, with all the same things with the value. This fight's only -120 to end inside the distance. Pickett opened -180, now is 155. This fight was supposed to be back in July on the RDA Physique card, but now we get it this week. Jamie Pickett's just a guy, what did I say earlier, similar to Darian Weeks. I look at Pickett, what's his best attribute? How he looks. He's big for the division. He's strong, but there's not one thing like his striking, his grappling, his volume, that just stands off the page. He's just not a fighter that I get excited for to roster, to watch, to be honest. He just is how I look at it. Now, Denis Tiuliulin, he's making his second fight, or his second walk to the UFC octagon. He fought an undefeated fighter in his first fight. He was a massive, massive underdog. He actually looked better than I expected in that fight. I don't think either of these guys have a bright future in the UFC. What I can say is Tiuliulin will walk forward. He has his 1-2 is nice. He has power in his hands, and he can finish the fight at any time. Whereas I think Pickett is going to want to make this a greasy, dirty fight. I think he's going to want to clinch on the cage. I think he's going to want to try and take Tiuliulin down, because that is Tiuliulin's biggest weakness, has been his takedown defense. But I expect he's been working on it. He's a slight dog in this fight. Pickett just has not impressed me in any which way. I don't love this fight. I'm not going to have a ton of this fight. If someone asks, is this fight optimal or is it not? My guess is it's not optimal, but I think the field thinks the same way, and Vegas does still expected to finish -120, just slightly mid-tier fight. Give me the underdog in Tiuliulin. I'm going to say he knocks out Jamie Pickett. Pickett's path, he wants to try and peel you to the ground. He doesn't have great takedown accuracy. It's not the most exciting fight I'm looking forward to, but give me the dog, and I'm going to say Tiuliulin does knock him out.
All right, we got a dog call on Tiuliulin. Keg, your thoughts on these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, from a betting perspective, I don't really like this fight at all. The fight was supposed to happen back in July, got called off. I agree with the title. Pickett's an average fighter. He isn't above average in any aspect of MMA, but he's more of a complete fighter probably because he's shown the ability to at least control fighters in the cage and use takedowns to gain position. Aside from that, though, he sets a good pace. His cardio holds up well in the third round. And that's, I think, will be vital here because, number one, Tiuliulin's big liability. He's got a 30% takedown defense. That was only one fight in the UFC. However, if you go back and you watch the regional tape, you'll see how bad he struggles. And it is bad for him to stay on his feet. So, you know, if you want to get him down, you can. And what happened in the Contender Series fight, you know, that he dropped against Kizriev on the, he could not avoid the takedowns, and it ended up causing him the fight. But on the feet, title's right. He has power, uses kicks well. He can hurt you, but he's chaotic, and he makes mistakes. And the question for him is really, will Jamie Pickett be able to pick him apart on the counter in wild exchanges? I lean probably not, but I do think Pickett is smart enough to know that he doesn't have the best cardio and he can't stop anybody from taking him down. And if he does that, it could be a long day. Tiuliulin feels KO or bust to me. I think if he doesn't get the knockout, he probably loses. So I'm going to lean with Jamie Pickett. But, you know, I would say if you want to bet him, just bet the money line. But I'll lean with him. But I'm not going to get there. And to be honest, DC, I don't like this card from a betting perspective much at all. I'm not going to have a ton of action on this card.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's important to point that out. We do that in DFS slates. You know, I do the baseball show every day, and I'm honest at the top of the show when I say my confidence in these picks or whatever is higher or lower than it normally is. Of course, you always do your best, but I think it's important to you know, let your confidence level just be honest about it. So I get that from a betting perspective on this card. Always important to protect that bankroll. So.
You have fights every week. You got NFL tomorrow. You got baseball. You don't need to bet everything. I mean, that's how you lose money.
Pick your spots, right? I think that's an important lesson. So good stuff there, Keg. We'll stick with you for the next fight. Another big favorite here. There's several, of course, on this card. Jailton, Almeida, sitting -700, -800. You can actually get him -600 right now on DraftKings is the best line out there against Anton Turkalj. I'm not sure. He's making his UFC debut. I'll be honest, Keg, I don't know a ton about him. Do you think this line is justified between Almeida and Turkalj?
So I think we cashed on Anton, and I think it's Turkalj, but I could be wrong, in Contender Series for Run Pure subs. But listen, neither of these guys are good strikers. Anton has no technique at all, in my opinion. And Almeida has a ton of power. And if he connects, you are in trouble. But his technique is bad on the feet also. They both need work there. So on the ground, though, they are both good. I probably rate Anton's wrestling above Almeida. But Almeida isn't bad, obviously. And his ground and pound is scary. Plus, we know, you know, in terms of grappling, the dude's got 10 wins by submission. If you give him an opening, you're done. He's going to take advantage. But all in all, I think they're kind of similar in a few ways. So the odds open offshore, Almeida was like -1,500. Last time I checked, he was -650. Yeah. The line is probably still a bit wide, but I'm not taking Almeida here. You know, fair game to Anton for taking the fight on short notice. and it's his debut fight on the main roster, but I can't back him. So how you get involved is the tough call. He's around even money, Almeida, to get the win by sub, and around plus 250 by KO. I would probably take the shot on the KO prop for a price in terms of the victory. I think my favorite bet, though, is fight starts round 2 at minus 120, because you have to assume we're going to see the mat in the first round. And I think seconds just tick off faster when they're on the mat. So I think that this fight probably does get to round 2. So that at minus 120, I don't mind. And then if you look for the Almeida round 2 price, I think it's around 7-1. So I mean, or maybe 4-1. So it's one of those. But if you want to take the method of victory, I take the shot on the KO at plus 250. But I will probably have a little money on fight starts round 2 at minus 120.
Which book is fights round 2 minus 120?
It was FanDuel.
Okay, cool. Title, your thoughts here, DFS wise. Again, a lot of big favorites, a lot of expensive fighters. How do you rank Almeida compared to some of the other guys? And give us obviously your thoughts on the fight in general.
Yeah, Almeida and Chimaev are the clear top tier guys. I mean, Almeida's minus 280 to finish inside the distance. Maybe that was a couple days ago, maybe a little less now. I mean, Jailton Almeida, this dude's a problem. He's going to be around for a long time. 205, I think, is where his bread will be buttered, where this dude is a potential future champion at the end of the day. I believe his wrestling is just, I mean, look what he did last fight against Parker Porter, who tips the scales at 265, takes him down, big man, and he finds a finish in the first round. He wraps the legs like Khabib does. He'll grab the wrist. He'll make you fall to your back, make you turn, you'll give up your neck. I mean, he's just really, really good on the mat, and he gets the fight on the mat when he wants. So I don't need to waste too much time on this one. I think the line, yeah, I mean, if I had to bet, if talking betting and not DFS, I'll never lay minus 600 plus on anyone. So it'd always be a dog or pass that way. But I do not need to play Anton when there's other value on the slate. If he's on the optimal, well, football's tomorrow, so I'll be in those streets. So
from a betting perspective, you think that plus 250 tag is worth taking a shot on him by KO?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think if he gets the mount and ground and pound and stuff, the thing is, he always looks for his opponent to give the neck. They always look for him to turn. And then once the neck's given, the rear naked choke, if you go look at all of his finishes, pretty much all of his submissions, the rear naked choke is what he's always looking for. He always sets it up with the ground and pound in that. So I lean submission, obviously, but you're getting way worse odds for that. So I don't mind it.
He's still got 6 knockout wins.
Yeah.
I agree, though. I think that the sub should be around minus 110.
I mean, this would be the one, like Julia Soliarenko talking armbar and stuff. Like whatever book offers rear naked choke, depending on what those odds are, that's where I'd bet.
That MGM. That MGM offers it, yeah.
What do you know off the top of your head what rear naked choke is for him?
I could check. No, I'll check while
when he gets the next fight. Yeah, I'm curious because that's what he looks. It's very clear what he looks for. He always is setting that up with everything he does.
Yeah, I like it. We'll see what those odds are. We'll move to the next fight, though. Title will stick with you here while Keg tries to find that number. Julian, Erosa, Hakeem, Dawodu, who did miss weight. I think one of the 3 or 4 fighters to miss weight. He's still a favorite here, sitting around minus 200 or so. Your thoughts on Dawodu and Walker, or Erosa rather.
Yeah, I mean, this fight is a sick fight. I think this could be fight of the night. I mean, anytime Julian Erosa fights, I have interest in DFS. I have interest to watch. He's just a very fun fighter to watch because he'll walk forward, not afraid to eat 3 to give 1. The chin has been compromised. He has been knocked out. 5 of his 9 losses have come by KO. I don't necessarily know if that's his chin just being completely dust or because the style he fights and he fights good competition, you're going to get caught when you just go guns blazing the whole time. Now, Hakeem Dawodu, man, I like this guy a lot too. I think he's very underrated in the UFC. His 2 losses, he's 13-2. He lost to Danny Henry in his UFC debut very early in that fight. I kind of just threw that out the window, maybe nerves. He just got caught early with the sub. And then he lost to Masvidal Evlov, and Evlov we know is a major problem in this division. So I'm not worried about that loss at all. looked career best last time against Mike Trizano. What I like about Dawodu, I mean, I expect both these guys to stand in the pocket to trade until someone falls. And Vegas thinks this fight, now it's slightly favored to end inside the distance, but it was plus money earlier in the week. And I think this fight does finish just with how Erosa's style is. Both guys throw over 5 significant strikes per minute. Dawodu, I think, he has the better hands. He's a better kicker. I think he's a better Muay Thai fighter. And I really think the leg kicks are going to be a big game plan and going to do a lot of wonders for Hakeem Dawodu, because Erosa's style, he'll walk forward, the legs always out there to be beat up, and Dawodu just goes to the well. I think he landed like 30 leg kicks last fight against Mike Trizano. Now, Dawodu has been known for being a decision fighter in the UFC thus far, but he's fought really, really tough guys. Like, I do still think he has the power, like he showed before the UFC, coming in with a bunch of knockouts. I still do think he has the pop to finish fights, and I think this is the perfect guy against Erosa, who has been knocked out in 5 of his 9 fights. I think this is a war. Erosa can definitely knock out Dawodu too. He's game. Think this is a great fight to target in DFS. Another fight that the ownership was lowered because of all this value with the new fights and stuff. But man, high-paced fight, going to be primary striking. I think if this goes a decision, you can see both guys having over 100 significant strikes per minute. I just think Dawodu is the better striker at the end of the day, and I think he does knock out Julian Erosa. So sign me up at 8,900. And I think he gets overlooked a bit. He's not going to be low owned by any means at 10%. But how many fighters in this upper tier have we talked about that are really good? And you look at those odds, the weight miss concerned me a little bit, but not enough to drop off the train. I think he takes care of business. Great fight though.
Yeah, Erosa seems like a live dog here to me. So from a DFS perspective, 7,300 looks like a pretty solid play.
And you got Ferguson at 7,200 and 73, like an easy pivot right there.
Yeah, 100%. Keg, what do you see between Dawodu and Dawodu and Erosa?
Yeah, I will. I'll be really quick here. I agree with pretty much everything Title said. So the decision is, like, Dawodu, he has been a decision machine since joining the UFC roster. But I also agree with Title. I favor, because of the way that Julian Erosa fights, I favor the fight to finish. And I think that Dawodu's a better fighter, and I think he's going to win the fight, which obviously leads me to like the finish. And at plus 200, I think that's the way I would lean with the KO prop with him. Now the decision price is like plus 140. And when you consider how many decisions he has on the main roster, that's actually a really fair price. But I'm going to lean with Title and the KO at 2-1. Also, the Almeida prop, Title, he's minus 110 to win by sub and even money to win by rear naked choke.
Yeah, the books are on to that. I mean, it's too good to be true.
That sweet 10 cents and eliminate all other possible.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
that's hurtful, man. Because Stoliarenko, that armbar, they weren't onto that when we were talking that one fight. Right. But yeah, I mean, that just shows. I think that's how he wins.
Yeah, makes sense there. Unfortunately, not a lot of value on the Almeida.
That's crazy. They literally said no one bet. We're not letting anyone bet.
Yeah, you're not taking our money on this.
Yeah.
That makes me think that it's like extremely likely to happen though, and almost makes me want to play.
You don't take the 10 cents. You just play the submission.
No, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll keep it moving though. Next fight on the card, Yohan Cutelaba is minus 200 or so over Johnny Walker. Keg, we'll stick with you on this one. What do you see between these two?
Yeah, it's been tough sledding for Johnny Walker. 1-4 last 5, only win coming against Ryan Spann. But to be fair to him, losing to Krylov, losing to Jamal Hill, those aren't bad losses. They're really solid fighters. And Johnny Walker, he's been flaky lately, man. He gets hurt a ton in the cage. He's way too wild. He keeps himself overextended constantly, and it's cost him 2 knockout losses in his last 5 fights. But he is dangerous on the feet. He does carry power, and he can kick the head off your shoulders at any time. Cardio is average probably for the division. Might have better cardio than Cutelaba because Cutelaba is way higher volume than Walker. But, I like Cutelaba because he has power and he has a wrestling base. And those are the two things in that division. If you have them, you're in good shape. But he gasses himself out because he puts everything he has into his takedowns and his volume. So, I think if Johnny Walker can last late, he could have the advantage. But listen, odds open, Cutelaba minus 180 is like minus $2. I wouldn't bet the money line, but I'm going to pick Cutelaba to win the fight because he has more avenues to win the fight. The bet I waited for all week was the fight doesn't go to the distance. I was hoping for like minus 250 and it was like minus 450. Then I checked, the fight starts round 3. No, that line was around minus 230. So, on a card that doesn't have many parlay pieces, if I don't mind like fight starts round 3, no, in this fight as one of your parlay pieces to get the price down on something else. But they're basically putting you in a box in terms of the amount of time this fight's going to be. Round 1's even money, round 2 plus 330. So I lean taking the chance that they make it out of round 1 and the fight inevitably ends in round 2. I don't mind that price.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I don't see much I like because they're making you lay way too much on time props. And both guys are probably capable of winning the fight, but I will pick Cutelaba to do it.
Yeah, title Cutelaba looks like he's got some big DFS upside to me. In these last 3 fights, we've seen 20 takedowns. If you look at his last 4 wins, has scored 127, 119, 107, and 131. Even scored 89 in the draw against Dustin Jacoby. So clearly some upside for Cutelaba here. He could finish early. This could be one of those spots where he gets, 8 takedowns and a bunch of control time, finishes in the 3rd round and puts up a monster score. So yeah, I like Cutelaba here, even though he's not as big of a favorite as some of the, guys priced above him, but 8,600 feels like a more than fair price to me. So interested to hear your thoughts, but I think I might be in on Cutelaba and DFS here.
Yeah, I mean, I love this fight, and this was this Cutelaba was going to be really, really high owned, probably the highest owned fighter on the card. Maybe it was really close because at 8,600, you looked at his finishing odds, the money line, all of that, and now again we have all this value. The ownership comes down a little bit in this fight. It's not going to be low owned by any means, but it's minus 450 to end inside the distance. So don't let all the 3 fights that all got switched around change your opinion that you should want to roster this fight in DFS. I think it's a great fight. And yeah, you mentioned Cutelaba. I mean, man, he averages 4.75 takedowns per 15 minutes. He has all the upside in the world when it comes to takedowns. He has power on the feet. He can knock you out on the feet as well. The big concern is the gas tank, though. I mean, the perfect example, you mentioned that Dustin Jacoby fight. He landed 8 takedowns in the 1st round against Justin Jacoby, but he blew his whole load. He loses the 2nd round because he's gassed out, loses the 3rd round, and it's a draw because of that. Now, then he rebounds against Devin Clark, where he landed 8 takedowns in that fight. And look, career best, his cardio checked out. So who knows what the cardio is going to be in Cutelaba in this one. Now, Johnny Walker, on the other hand, I mean, he has a big tail to tape advantage. 5 inches in height, 7 inches in reach. And like Keg was saying, I mean, you look at it, he's lost 4 of his last 5. Jamal Hill, though, I mean, you guys know my thoughts on Sweet Dreams. I do not have any shame in that loss. Thiago Santos, one of the most boring fights you'll ever see. Do not go watch that back. Ryan Spann fight, he did win. Krylov lost to that. No shame in that. Corey Anderson, I mean, Joey works that on the show, but he believes he's the best light heavyweight in the world. So no losses in his, or no shame in his losses. And then another thing, if you want a little, I don't know if it's narrative is the right word and stuff, but Johnny Walker has been, he's came forward and it's been like, I had to quit the THC. I had to quit CBD and the weed. It just affected his whole life. He said like he shows up late to practice. He has these panic attacks. Like it just really was not good for him. And now he's completely clean on that. It looks like he's in the best spot he has ever been, which I like. I love 5 inches in height advantage. I love a 7-inch reach advantage. I love a complete war. I'm going to go with the dog in this one for the pick. Now, does that mean I'm not going to have Cutelaba? No, I'm going to have a bunch of this fight in DFS. Minus 450 to end inside the distance. If it ends in round 1, both guys put up a massive score. Round 2, round 3, Then Cutelaba wins a decision with wrestling somehow. Like there's so many paths to a big score in this one. So I like it, but I like the dog money. I think people are down on him for some of those losses against great competition. Love the tail of the tape advantage. They're going to look 3 weight classes apart in this one. And he's in the best headspace. I mean, he quit everything that was bringing him down. I'll jump on the Johnny Walker train, but yeah, great fight for DFS. Great. I mean, you look at it, we had Almeida, we had the Erosa Dawodu fight, this fight, and then 4 fights to end the card. This pay-per-view card now from night and day, how I thought about it three days ago until now. So I'm getting pumped, man.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure I was gonna end up watching this one. Maybe it's gonna be working on NFL, but now can't miss this pay-per-view card. So really excited for it. Title will stick with you for the next fight. Back to the women's division. It is Irene Aldana sitting around -180 or so against Macy Chiasson. This is like the calm before the storm, because the last 3 fights are awesome, but let's break down this one for us. What do you see between these 2 women?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the one, and they're like, but I still think it could be a decent fight. I mean, it's a clash of styles, how I'm looking at it. If it's on the feet, it's Irene Aldana all day. She has power for the division that most girls do not present. She 1 KO power, I would say she has. Her last 3 wins have all been finished. Last 2 wins have been by first round knockout. Macy Chiasson, what does she want to do? I mean, I think she's going to want to get this fight to the mat. But the problem is Aldana has an 84% takedown defense on 45 attempts. This fight is now at a catch weight of 140. Chiasson weighed in at 139.5, so they moved the fight up that way. I just don't think Macy's going to be able to get this fight to the mat to make it dirty against the fence and stuff. Maybe early she's able to have some success doing that, but I just think Aldana is going to be able to keep it on the feet, going to be able to keep it at range, and she just has a massive striking advantage in this one. Now, you want low-owned fighter in the upper range that does have upside. Irene Aldana is going to be very low-owned in the upper tier at 8,800. And like I said, she does have first-round finishing power, as we've seen in her last couple of fights. Now, if you're only playing a couple lineups, yeah, it's not going to be comfortable rostering her over Cutelaba, Collier, Dawodu, all of that stuff. But someone like me who plays 150, or if you're playing Chimaev, Almeida, Ferguson, or Diaz, you need to get different somewhere. I think this is a viable route. I do think she wins. KO or decision, I don't have the strongest lean, but she's definitely live for the KO. So, yeah, I like Aldana in this spot, and she does have upside at very low ownership.
Makes sense there. Yeah, I think Chiasson has a little bit of upside too, right? I mean,
she does with wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. She scored well, and sometimes you see the women's fights, especially if you can get the dominant position, you can rack up those points in a hurry. But with that, let's get to the 3 big fights on this.
We gotta go to Keg.
Oh, my bad. Keg, go ahead.
I mean, I don't have a ton to add. I agree with everything Title said. We're on the split prop. Listen, here's the thing. I know that Aldana has 85% takedown defense, but if you really look at the tape, the 2 people that really wanted to get physical with her were Holly Holm and Rocky, and she lost to both of them.
Holly Holm was prime Holly, though, is how I looked at it. So I kind of threw that one out personally.
So, I mean, I think that if Macy Chiasson can get 1 round of ground control, then the split prop is incredibly live at 4.5 to 1. So, but yeah, I agree with Title. I'll pick Aldana to beat her.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Let's get to these final 3 fights. Before we do, another reminder, running out of time to get that 15% off your Run Peer subscription for life. Promo code NFL15 will do it. I'm feeling a big week 1 coming for the Run Peer crew. Certainly excited for that. You can get Title's playbook. We've still got baseball going on, obviously, with the big scores. I'll be grinding baseball all the way to the end of the season through the playoffs. Just every sport, every DFS sport, betting, all you can handle over at Run Peer Sports. Join the movement. NFL 15% off lifetime of your subscription.
When's your 10 for 10 coming out? I always like that article.
That'll be out. Yeah, I've got a show tonight at 8 Eastern time, and then that will be out right before that. So that'll be out in a few hours. That's my big afternoon task as we watch some fights, some college football, all that good stuff. With that, let's get to these 3 fights. First one, Li Jingliang and Danielle Rodriguez, two fun strikers with power. I'm looking forward to this one a lot, Title. What do you see between these two?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I mean, so the first thing to note, D-Rod weighed in at what, 179 and a half, and Li Jingliang weighed in at 170 and a half because Lee was supposed to fight Ferguson. D-Rod was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. So, again, massive props to Lee for taking this fight. He did not have to by any means, and he outmake the card. Man, this fight's going to be great. What also stands out, Lee is not, I'm just calling him Lee. It's so much easier than keep saying Jingliang, but he's 9,000 and he's the underdog in this fight. A small underdog, but an underdog. D-Rod is 7,500 and the favorite in this fight. So you can figure out where ownership's going to go and how Lee is a very good leverage play if he does win. But he doesn't only have to win. He has to put up a big score at 9,000, like an 80-point win. Still is probably more than likely not enough to be on the optimal on this card, but he definitely has the power. I mean, both these guys have power. I give Lee the power advantage, the one-shot KO power, even at his weight class. The dude hits like an absolute truck. However, D-Rod has never been knocked out. All of his pro fights, his amateur fights, he's shown a very good chin. And who's going to be the minute winner in this fight? Got to think it's D-Rod, especially early. He lands 8.24 significant strikes per minute. The volume is always there, which is very good for DFS as well. I think this is a dogfight. I think both these guys are going to throw down. I think it gets out of the first round for sure, which is why I don't love Lee even as a leverage play. I'll have some in 150, of course, but if I'm playing 10 lineups and all that, I'm not going to get to Lee personally, even with the leverage on this slate, since I do trust D-Rod's chin to at least make it out of the first round. But I think we just see a complete war. I don't think it really gets to the mat. Someone does take it to the mat. I think D-Rod definitely has the advantage. He would be the one. He has the better grappling. But, man, these two are going to throw down. I think this is a very close fight. I think D-Rod's the minute winner. If Lee catches the chin, of course, he can knock him out. I'm going to trust D-Rod's chin that's never been knocked out. I think he's the minute winner with the volume, so he is my pick. But confidence, not very high. Very, very excited to watch this fight, though.
Yeah, Lee has won his last 4 fights via KO, and a couple of those have come outside of round 1, right? He had a round 2 KO in his last fight, a round 3 KO a few fights ago.
And look at those dudes he fought. Salikov never been knocked out.
Yeah.
Zaleski dos Santos, like
a couple of round 3 KOs. So you think this gets out of round 1? I'm looking at that Lee KO in round 2 or round 3. Round 2, you can get him at plus 1,300. Round 3, you can get him at plus 1,500.
I like it.
A couple bets I like over on FanDuel. Keg, let's go to you for this one. What do you see between these two guys?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Daniel Rodriguez. He's basically been flawless since Contender Series with the 1 loss to Nick Dalby. But even in that loss, he looked very good. And the decision just didn't go his way. Primarily a striker. He's got an underrated ground game, but there's a ton to like about him. He's got an underrated grappling game that I think, along with his takedown defense, are the main edges that he has, because I think that it's pretty even on the feet. But the only thing that I worry with him is, number one, he comes in off hand surgery, where he was out for about a year. I don't know how the hand reacts to like real contact. Who knows? I don't think he'll have an issue though. Number two, he hasn't faced the best level of competition in his career, but he has looked really good against who he's fought. Leach comes in off the win against Salikov, rebounded well from the tough loss to Chimaev. He's at the tail end of his prime probably, but he's still very, very good, explosive on the feet, and he will be able to keep up with any pace Rodriguez sets in this fight. Of that, I have no doubt. I'm going to pick Daniel Rodriguez to win the fight. Now, I'm not going to bet it because these guys were prepping to fight somebody else 24 hours ago. Yeah. That makes me tentative to bet my money on these 3 fights. But I'm going to pick D-Rod because I think his striking is more pure in the pocket than Leach. As far as an angle in the fight, I guess I don't mind Rodriguez in round 1 or 2. I have to check the price. Round 3 or by decision was plus 135. I'll check the price, but Rodriguez in round 1 or 2, I think would probably be the way that I'd be looking to go here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Should be a good one. I think it's going to be a banger between
plus 470, but by knockout in round 1 or 2 plus 470.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Let's get to these final 2 fights, co-main events, both 5-round fights, I believe. Keg, is that true? Between
true.
Yeah, first one we'll talk about off the main event, but a better fight, I think, for Khamzat Chimaev, who coming off I think still an impressive win over Gilbert Burns, but he did at least look kind of mortal, right? In that one where it's almost interesting where I think his stock almost went down even after beating a killer like Gilbert Burns, just in the public eye, just because it looked prior to that like he just completely.
Well, he was fighting bums. Leach isn't a bum, but yeah, the stock didn't go down for me. I mean, he showed heart.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm personally not worried about this weight cut miss for Chimaev. I honestly. Did you see the tweet title where
they sent the doctor up? They told him to stop cutting. You're talking about that?
He was like out to dinner the night before the weigh-in,
sparkling water. And...
If you're eating like the day before the weigh-in, you probably could have got down to it. So I'm
not worried about that as well. I'm with you.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about the weight miss with Chimaev. I think that was all kind of frankly planned. Anyway, he's sitting around minus 500, minus 550, minus 600, still a massive favorite over a very dangerous Kevin Holland, who does have significant power, but has shown pretty bad takedown defense, honestly, in the past, especially in that Vettori fight. Now, he's been working on that, of course. I think it's up for debate, a question mark whether or not he knew he was going to fight Chimaev. I think he may have, but probably not a long time before this fight. And then obviously, the complete change of opponent. Title, we'll stick with you here. I mean, I think Chimaev has a fairly straightforward and perhaps easy path to victory with the takedowns, but Holland is dangerous on the feet, of course. So yeah, obviously we've only had the 24 hours like everyone else to prepare for this fight. Break it down for us, Chimaev and Holland.
Definitely way better than Chimaev beating up on Diaz. Way more excited to watch. Man, so this line opened minus 1,000 Chimaev. When I saw that, I was like, Holland might be the easiest bet in the world. And now the line's sitting at like minus 580. I mean, if Chimaev comes out with the game plan, I shouldn't even say that. His game plan against Burns, like he looked for the early takedowns against Burns, and then he felt resistance. He felt pretty tough takedown defense, and he was worried about Burns' BJJ, which, I mean, Burns is one of the best BJJ practitioners out there. Like, it makes sense why he stood and struck with them for 15 minutes. If he does that with Kevin Holland, he can easily get knocked out, and I don't think anyone would be surprised. I mean, Kevin Holland is a very tough fight for anyone. He's as game as it comes. When this fight's on the feet, it's a 50-50 fight, I'll say. Chimaev can strike, no doubt about it. He's very tough. He has a bunch of power himself, but Holland is very, very tough there. Now, like you said, it all comes down to the takedown defense, the wrestling defense from Kevin Holland. We saw last year against Marvin Vettori, he was taken down 11 times, controlled for 20 minutes, 6 times by Derek Brunson, controlled for 17 minutes. He made a bunch of changes. All he did was drill takedown defense, wrestling defense, won in grappling tournaments. Like, that was his whole focus, because he knows on the feet, he's confident that he can strike with anybody out there. But of course, you cannot be on your back. Now, Chimaev, there's levels to this stuff. We know what Chimaev, I think Chimaev has success with takedowns early. I think he grounds pounds them early and stuff. But Kevin Holland said his one stipulation to take this fight, it has to be 5 rounds. And why did he say that? Because once this fight, the later this fight goes, every minute that ticks off, Holland is more and more live. Chimaev was gassed with that Gilbert Burns fight. Gilbert Burns doesn't have the best cardio. But of course, that pace was very, very crazy. But I am worried about Chimaev's gas tank. I don't know how he's going to look in the championship rounds. I do trust Kevin Holland's gas tank in the championship rounds, even though he was only preparing for 3 rounds. My pick is still going to be Chimaev, but I think this line is a little wide. And then we come to the DFS perspective, 9,600 for Chimaev. I'm going to play him for sure. He's probably going to be the chalkiest fighter on the slate. He has 150-point upside. And you don't say that very often because he can just get 12 takedowns. Holland is very tough to finish on the mat. If he can stuff more takedowns than we think or keep it at range, he is live. He's $8,700 as a plus 450 dog. He is going to be one of the lowest owned fighters. If Kevin Holland wins this fight, even at 8,700 in a 5-round fight, he can very well be optimal and offers the biggest leverage on the slate. I am going to be more overweight on Kevin Holland than I am on Chimaev, just because Chimaev could be 70% owned. Holland could be 5% owned. I think he has a better chance to win than that is all saying. So my pick's going to be Chimaev. I think he takes him down early. I think he can win, bank the first 3 rounds and stuff maybe. But with the odds, we play a salary game. We're playing for that $200,000 today on a very chalky card. I like the leverage Holland gets. He's very tough to finish on the mat. The longer this fight goes, man, this fight's on the feet, 50-50. He's more alive than people think, and people are probably going to be calling me crazy. But yeah, Chimaev is my pick, but I think this is a very good scrap, and I think a live betting Holland. I think this could be a good live betting Holland spot, and I think people will be able to tell if the tides are about to turn.
Yeah, I love that breakdown, and I got a bet for you, Title, one that I'll be hitting after this show. Holland to win in round 5, 60-1 plus
60 to yes, sign me up.
As someone that just hit a 420-1 bet on some stolen bases, I'm absolutely willing to bet Holland in round 5. If you're right about the gas tanks, that makes perfect sense to me. He's got knockout power. We know he can go 5 rounds and feel good about that. So 61 over at DraftKings. There you go. Keg, your turn. Break down Chimaev and Holland for us.
Definitely a tougher fight for Chimaev, obviously, than Diaz. I disagree with Title on one thing he said. He said this fight's probably 50-50 on the feet. I disagree. I think Kevin Holland has a sizable advantage on the feet.
What would you cap it at? 200, you think? Minus 200? More?
Yeah, probably minus 200. Because he's way faster in the pocket, and he's got substantial power for that division. So I think that any minute that this fight is on the feet, Kevin Holland should be the favorite. But the big problem is he can't stay on his feet. And I mean, to me, this is the most clear-cut way to bet this fight on the entire card. You take Chimaev in round 1, 2, and 3 at even money as your primary bet, and then you bet a half unit or a quarter unit on Kevin Holland on the money line, or after round. My only worry with Title taking him live is he could get the knockout in the first round. It wouldn't shock me.
You're saying, yeah, Holland.
Yeah.
Then in DFS, I'm very happy sitting that way.
Right. So I would probably take Holland money line in that plus 440 range. And I would take Chimaev in round 1, 2, or 3 at even money, because he's not going to be able to stay on his feet, Kevin Holland, once Chimaev starts going for the takedowns. And man, if you're going to give me 15 minutes and the majority of that time Holland's going to be on his back probably, I think Chimaev could find a way to get it done, because he's special on the ground. So, but man, Title's right. Kevin Holland can easily shock the world tonight, because he's a favorite on the feet, no doubt about it in my mind, and he could definitely knock Chimaev out.
And he'll fight for your money. Like, he's not going to quit on himself. Like, right. He has at least he has that stuff in him, which you can't say about everyone.
If you look at the end of the 3rd round in the Gilbert Burns fight, Chimaev was dead, bro. Now
he would have 10 more minutes.
That was a war. That was a war, and you would expect, at least here, he's probably going to have if the bell rings to start round 4, he's going to be probably more fresh, because he's going to be on the mat, I would think, for the majority of that time, instead of being in a war with Holland. But yeah, I agree. That 4th and 5th round cardio, Holland's got it, no doubt about it. So, yeah, I think Kevin Holland's live. But my primary bet will be Chimaev in 1, 2, or 3 at even money, and I'll throw a little on Holland on the money line.
And don't fade Chimaev. I mean, you're listening to all this stuff. You're playing. His upside is higher than anyone by a mile.
Yep.
Yep, I think good points there. What do you think Holland's ownership will be? Title
6%, 5%.
Yeah.
And it's not only that; it's what is Chimaev's ownership. You lose 70% of the field, 5%. Like that's where it's 200K up top on the chalkiest card.
Frankly, if Holland wins, probably going to be a good chance of being on
the only problem is like if he just gets like 5 points in the first 3 rounds, and then he catches them, and it's still not enough. But you know what I'm saying? That
I do totally know what you're saying. Where you do kind of almost have to win the parlay because he's not cheap enough.
Exactly.
But
with the ownership and the leverage, I'll take my shots.
Yeah, take a couple shots on Holland.
I mean, 10%, you're overweight. Like it's not like you got to go 50%.
Yeah, I wouldn't go nuts with whatsoever, but maybe match the field, get a little bit overweight, and you're good there. Let's get to the main event. The main event of the card. Both these guys title very cheap for DFS. Tony Ferguson 7,200, Nate Diaz 6,600. This fight listed as pretty much a coin flip. It is Ferguson who's a slight favorite. I personally lean Diaz in this fight. I've been betting against Ferguson every single fight since I had a big bet or big action on Gaethje, and then I've been against Ferguson all these. But man, he has fought some absolute beasts. Obviously, all respect to Nate Diaz, but not the caliber of fighter, in my opinion, compared to who Ferguson has fought recently. All kinds of things going on here with DFS. This is one of the more stackable fights I've ever seen. I think both these guys are very likely to each land a ton of significant strikes in this one and score pretty well. Just a lot going on here, title. So I'll just throw it to you, Ferguson, Diaz. What do you see?
Yeah, so much going on in this fight. So if you think this fight goes to decision, which is what, -115 right now, which I do. I think we do see this fight go to decision. This fight you can stack in GPPs. I never have stacked fights in GPPs. I always think it's very negative EV. But we don't see it here though. Yeah. We haven't seen a situation like we have in this. Do I know if I'm gonna stack yet? I'm not sure. My lean was no. Still have not built lineups. We have time, but I would not blame anyone for stacking this fight for obvious reasons. Because if this fight goes 25 minutes, I think this fight mainly plays out on the feet. Both guys have good grappling. Both guys are easy to take down, but I just see these two just slugging it out for 25 minutes.
I think so.
At the end of the day, I can't pick Nate Diaz. I mean, listen to everything coming up to this week about the Chimaev fight. Like he seemed totally checked out. He had just made his new promotion. It's his last fight. I think we see. Like I just don't think he's still in it. Like Tony Ferguson, like you mentioned, he's on an awful run. I've been against him for almost all these fights too. Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush, Michael Chandler. Like what would those dudes do to Nate Diaz?
It's 4 of the 6 best lightweights in the world.
But some of the baddest dudes on the planet. Like there's no shame in that. Now, what is there to be scared of? I mean, he took a life-changing beating against Justin Gaethje. He took a front kick against Michael Chandler that made him look like Abraham Lincoln. Like his chin, like it's scary. It's scary for sure. But is Nate Diaz going to knock him out? Well, he had Leon Edwards rock, so some people might say yes, and I wouldn't say you're the most crazy. But we still know Tony's as tough as they come. I'm going to trust the chin to hold up against Nate Diaz. Then you look at Nate Diaz on the other side. Why I think this fight goes to decision. Man, Nate Diaz, look what Leon Edwards was doing to him for 24 minutes. Like just absolutely like beating him up so bad. He's always game though. He's always tough. I don't think he's gonna quit. The scariest thing is like the doctor stoppage with all of his scar tissue. If this fight gets on the inside, Tony Ferguson's elbows and stuff, like we're gonna see. This fight's gonna be so much fun. I'm so excited. I think it's very bloody for Nate as well. I see a competitive fight. I do. But one guy I still think is in it trying to win. Like he was supposed to fight the Leech. And I think he believed he could win that fight even as that dog. Now he gets an easier fight against Diaz, where I don't think Diaz thought he was going to beat Chimaev by any means. Like everything I was hearing was very scary. Now he gets the easier fight. Man, I just think Tony is training harder. I think he's still in it. I still think he can do it. Whereas Nate Diaz, I just necessarily can't say the same thing. And the line is very close, which is why I think you can bet Tony Ferguson, which is why I'll have a ton. In 20 entry and below, I'm going to be locking Tony Ferguson in this fight. Now, let's go. I see people in chat. Can you fade this fight? People were asking. Well, first off, FanDuel. Someone asked, can you stack this fight on FanDuel? FanDuel did change the pricing. So Ferguson's $20 and Nate Diaz is $16. Do not stack this fight on FanDuel. I would be very shocked if it lands in the optimal. Now, on DK, can you fade this fight? I'm going to say yes in large field tournaments because the ownership is going to be absolutely crazy. And then we saw Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling not be on the optimal. Yes, of course, it's because the knee to the head and nobody won or a draw. It's MMA. Crazy things can happen. What if Tony finds a early third round finish and scores 85? Yeah, you would want 85 at 7,200. But what if, like you said, Macy goes out with the wrestling heavy game plan? Johnny Walker catches up. Julian Erosa scores over that. It all has to do with what the lower.
Pretty rare to get a 85 score on the optimal in the end, and it could happen.
Exactly. And if the ownership, like if I was told the winner of this fight scored 85, I would have 0 by a mile with the ownership and all that. Could it win for Diaz or Ferguson at 66 and 7,200? Sure. But everyone's saying like you'd be the craziest dude to fade this fight. Everyone's thinking that with the ownership. So I will say if you're playing multiple lineups, I think I will have some fades myself in my 150 script. 20 entry and below, I would just play one of these two fighters. I wouldn't get too cute that way. But the more lineups you make with the game theory, the ownership, and if they're not on the optimal, I would bet we see a solo shipper today. And you always are playing for that solo shipping 200K. So it's Tony Ferguson for me. But man, I've talked about multiple times, these mixing and matching makes these last 3 fights so much more fun. And this is who Diaz should be fighting to get his way out of the UFC. He shouldn't be fighting Chimaev.
Yeah, 100% on that last point. Keg, we'll go to you next. I'll say this. You're the live betting master, Keg, but I'll be watching this fight closely for live betting opportunities. The reason being, I could see a lot of swings in who's winning this fight, right? I could see just the line seems like it could be off.
Split decision?
Split decision, yeah. Again, and I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be looking for a chance to one of these fighters looks like they're dominating after round 1 or round 2. We know with Nate Diaz that it can just swing at any moment. I think both these fighters are that style. So I'll be watching those live betting lines, trying to get a big plus number on a fighter that I think could still be live when maybe they look like they're kind of down and out after round 1 or round 2. But let's go to you, Keg. Nate Diaz, Tony Ferguson, your thoughts.
Yeah, so my only issue with that is I think this is the fight that Tony Ferguson has needed for a year and a half. He can no longer beat the best lightweights in the world, but he was winning the first round against Michael Chandler in exchanges. He was touching him up. If you go back and rewatch that first round, he looked really, really good. And then he suffers the knockout loss of 2022. And on the other side, Nate Diaz openly admitted he gave up training for Chimaev, doesn't care, beat me, let me get out of here. But I think Tony has a really big advantage on the feet in this fight because Nate Diaz does not have fight-ending power. And the only thing I think that's going to hurt Tony is that chin. And I don't think that Nate Diaz can test it. And in exchanges, I mean, we just saw in May, he looked really good in the first round of that fight. I think he's going to really, really put a beating on Nate Diaz for every minute that this fight is on the feet. Now, listen, they're both wizards on the ground. So it's probably a stalemate. And I would think nobody subs the other one. And I could see a late stoppage because of cut damage, because of all the scar tissue that Diaz has on his face. But yeah, for me, I'm probably going to bet. We have faded him here 4 straight fights at Run Pure. Actually 3, because the 4th fight was May 2020, right before we started Run Pure Bets. But I will be on him here. I think he's going to look really good against Nate in stand-up.
All right. Well, I know I said Diaz to open the fight, but you guys convinced me otherwise. I'm jumping on the Ferguson train. You guys are smarter at this than I am. But yeah, just a fantastic card overall. We of course thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the like, hit the subscribe on your way out. It does help us bring you these shows free of charge each and every week. With that, we'll get out of here. Enjoy the fights, everybody. Good luck on your bets in your DFS lineup. It's going to be a fun night of fights. And of course, we've got NFL tomorrow. Last plug, NFL 15% off your subscription at Run Pure Sports if you do want to join the movement and get the winners with the crew over at RPS. That'll do it. For Title, for Keg, I'm DC, and we'll check you next time.
Good luck, everybody.